Yo, yo, yo! Happy Sunday. Welcome to the HGC Day 3. Caldor said I wouldn't do it, and we did. Hope you guys are excited for some awesome matches today. We are finishing with some good ones. My name is Trixler, and the giggler over here, it's Caldor.
Yo.
Yo. Done. Just like that. So today we've got some good matches. Today we have the Playing Ducks taking on Team Liquid for game number 1, and both teams currently on a loss streak right now, both 0-2 in the last 2 matches.
Yeah, exactly. So we have great games here today. We have Team Liquid, we have the Ducks, we are seeing Fnatic later on, and Europe is crazy right now. Games are so good. Basically, everybody can beat anybody. It's really amazing, and I am looking forward to both of our games today because, first of all, we need to find out if the Ducks are still able to win games. That's the first thing.
It's a big question mark.
And then we also don't really know where Team Liquid is at. All of a sudden, at the start of the season looked fantastic, then they lose against Tricked, and I just don't know what to expect anymore.
I mean, they're still up there. Let's take a look at the standings right now where Fnatic continues to reign supreme. Fnatic will be playing later on. They'll be facing off against Expert, the number 2. So we have the 1 versus a 2 this weekend, which is going to be an exciting one. If Expert comes out in 3-0's Fnatic, though, I'm done. I'm not back here next week.
He's been talking about this for days now, by the way. That Expert is going to come out and 3-0 Fnatic. And while I don't really think that's what's going to happen here, if it happens, it would be crazy.
There's something in the air when it comes to Europe. And of course, Team Liquid and the Playing Ducks want to face off. Team Liquid continuing to want to climb here. Make sure to compete there with Trick Esports and Dignitas. And the Playing Ducks just looking for some victories because right now they are 1-3. And their one victory was a close one against Tricked.
Which is also interesting if you think about it. Tricked is all of a sudden someone who can contend a spot at the Western Clash, and they lost to the Ducks as well. Everything that we thought at the beginning of the season has basically been just put ad absurdum. That doesn't really exist in English, does it?
It's just in the air.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna. Yes, Caldor, that was good. Perfect. Schedule for today. What's coming your way? At the very top, the Ducks and Team Liquid facing off. They'll be our starting match later on. Obviously, Fnatic and Team Expert. The big match of the day, I think. Definitely Fnatic versus Team Expert. If there's only one you can watch, I would say go with that one.
Yeah, at this point, I actually think I'm just going to stick with German.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, dude. I got you.
Das wäre eine bisschen bessere Idee hier.
Yep.
Also langsam zweifle ich an mir selbst.
Later on, Team Freedom and Gale Force for
Esports
will face off for North America, and then Tempo Storm and Superstars to finish the day. So a good day overall for this Sunday.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a really cool day to end this week's HGC Europe, and it couldn't be any more perfect. First of all, Team Liquid heading off against the Ducks. That's going to be good for the reason pointed out. Yeah. But then our last game, we're going to find out if Fnatic can just reign supreme in Europe. And let's face it, if they win against Expert now on top of everything they already accomplished this season, with Phase 2, then they would basically be qualified for the Western Clash.
I mean, I would go as far to say they are the best team in Europe as of that moment, too, because Expert's the one, they're on the up and up. It was mentioned yesterday in interviews that, from Snitch, I believe, that Expert is putting in the work, and it's showing right now. What they say, 9 hours a day almost of scrims, which is pretty darn bonkers in itself. Expert and the new member, Thorough, has been dominating.
Just to put that into perspective with the 9 hours, that basically means they are playing an extra scrim block compared to any other team, because normally what most of the European teams are doing is they have 2 scrim blocks every day, and they last 3 hours. So Expert puts in another one, and of course, on top of the scrims, all of the players are also playing individually in Hero League or in duo queue to practice combos. So that's on top of the actual scrim. So Expert just puts another block in.
Well, Expert and Fnatic facing off, and today they're going to share their thoughts before we go into the game.
This upcoming Sunday we will be playing against Team Liquid. They have been looking really strong in the split so far as well, just like they did at the start of the last split. So it will be a really, really tough match for us. But I think, again, if we have a strong day, we have a chance to take maps off them, and if they maybe like have one of like a bad day, there's actually a good chance we can maybe make an upset happen. For now, it's gonna be one of the harder games. Obviously, I think it's gonna be harder than Expert for sure. Just need to keep playing what we do in practice. Sometimes we switch up too many things when it comes to the tournament. So if we just keep playing what we do in practice, I think we have a good shot at having a good best of 5 series where maybe we can even win 3-2.
So our match against Playing Ducks, I think we are the clear favorites, but it is very important for us to shut down Sport Billy, especially his mid-eve and his Falstad play. He also picked up D.Va lately, and I think it might be a very strong addition to their hero pool. So I think if we get the right draft and if we respect their kind of drafting, we are the favorites and we should be able to beat the Playing Ducks.
curious as if we'll see more D.Va today. With her latest changes in the patch, it seems like she has a hard time staying alive. But hey, Sport Billy, if anyone could pull it off, it certainly could be him.
It's also interesting that D.Va as a pickup for him is not quite the role that he usually fills. And as you already said, we had recent nerfs to her, so that could also impact how they are going to draft. But the important thing to take away from what Chris has been talking about for a few days now is that they need to stay really in that pocket where they practice what they scrim and just don't deviate from it any longer, since that was a bit of an issue for them, that they were going into picks, into bans that they just didn't practice as hard with. So that's something that they need to focus on today. And Liquid is in a very similar situation. If Liquid loses here, that will be a disaster for them.
Well, stick to the plan. That's the plan for the Playing Ducks. What battleground we'll be going to for game number 1? It is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. This is a very Playing Ducks type of battleground. They come here very often.
Yeah, they sometimes have a bit of a playful approach to the map, but right now I'm actually curious to see what the first draft is going to be like.
I'm sure it'll be very serious and not playful at all. Team Liquid is also in angry mode, man. The last time we saw Team Liquid in angry mode, they came out pretty hardcore, I would say, in phase number 2. Really doing well and shutting down their opponents as much as possible. So far, their matches in the first couple of weeks were actually very close, but the last couple ones has been pretty dominant. Tricked Esports actually 3-0 Team Liquid, so today I hope that they come out and maybe have some different drafting plans, or of course play a little bit more together, because it felt like their last matchup, not fully on the page they were expecting to be on.
Yeah, the thing about Team Liquid, though, is that they said they are back, and I really believe them. They were talking a lot about how the atmosphere within the team is better. That still doesn't mean that you can't have an off day, and I think this is actually what happened to them also against Trick. And we also talk a lot about how Team Liquid has struggled against Trick, but at the same time, let's not forget that Trick has actually stepped it up massively, so that's a huge factor that also plays into this. But for now, we're going into our first game here, and on Tomb we have a ban on Oriel, so this is a bit of a soft ban against all that double support that we are seeing just lately. Oriel being absolutely fantastic in that role, and the Medivh banned out. And this is targeting exactly what Houseops has been talking about. They respect Sport Billy a lot, and they know that the Ducks oftentimes draft around him, and getting rid of Medivh on Tomb of the Spider Queen is a first step into that direction.
Yeah, it's a good move and making sure you can kind of shut him down. The Genji also being a pickup takes it away from Sport Billy. Sport Billy was also running Genji for the last couple weeks. Playing Ducks will answer back with the tried and true combo of a Nubarak and Uther, so now they have control over Genji and of course a Cocoon.
Yeah, Cocoon, soon going to see some changes, but we are still here in our old version. We have the immediate reaction by Team Liquid, not wasting any time. Malthael for the bot lane. He's going to thrive here, of course, especially when he hits the late game. And we also see Stitches once more. So watch out for these hooks as Bloomby is going to try and deliver with them.
Yeah, it seems like Nubarak and Stitches are now just our top 2 tanks no matter what on either side here. If one team has a Nubarak, the other team is probably moving to that Stitches, looking for those hooks, looking for those engages to force fights to occur. Very similar to Nubarak. A Nubarak trusts Cocoon, he can make a fight happen and Grim that number advantage at any point. Now, Malthael being a little bit higher here is a bit interesting. We're seeing him usually in the 4th and 5th slot in a lot of our drafts, but Darkmock and crew really grabbing him early on Team the Spider Queen.
Yeah, they're currently just trying to see what they can pull with Malthael off. He usually thrives if you have a single, if you can go into these team fights, and this is a very team fight heavy map with quick rotations. Malthael also has, of course, the mobility. And as a solo laner, he really excels. We have seen him into the Haka, for example, doing extremely well. Against Sonya, it's a bit rougher. And the one thing that you can say about Tomb is that oftentimes we see rotation towards that. But when we're looking at the overall draft right now, we see the Ducks with a high focus on banning out supports. They just banned Rega as well, limiting Team Liquid's options even more. And we're also having the Greymane taken away. So that's wave clear gone for the Ducks, and it also is going to make snipe comps a bit harder for them.
The Uther walked down into the Curse Bullet, which does leave up other options. They're still possibly leaving on the field, but with Genji and Stitches being up, that might not be something the Playing Ducks move into. I'm trying to think of what they normally pick up. They move into Tychus pretty often, Jaina as well. What would be the main assassin that we would see from the Ducks? Maybe a Vala if we grab another support here? I mean, Tassadar are still floating around.
Vala is definitely something that we see from the Ducks a lot. So they have been playing Vala quite a bit, but it could also be that they're heading into something along the lines of Gul'dan would have been an option with the wave clear as an
True.
additional damage dealer. But we have that double support, so Uther and Malfurion for them. Also noteworthy, Uther is the only hero that we have in HGC Europe that still has a 100% involvement rate. No other hero has that, so he's always being picked or banned. Not even in Nubarak is that high.
Interesting. Thought maybe that might fall off a little bit with his changes this weekend, but seems to not be the case. And Team Liquid answers back with Karazim and Kael'thas to come in with that combination for the Stitches hook.
Yeah, so we have the hook into the gravity lapse, so for the immediate burst down, the Karazim. You can really go straight into a 7-sided here as well if you're trying to play that style, where you bank everything onto the Stitches hook, and then after Kael'thas uses the gravity lapse, you simply drop the 7-sided, and that's a huge amount of damage you will burst onto that one single target that he just isolated from the rest of the group. But it's definitely a very well-rounded draft that we're currently seeing for them here. And on the other hand, the playing Ducks still need someone at that bot lane. So the big question for them is who will they put up against Malthael? I could actually see the Sonya being played here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with it being Infernal. Sonya seems to be the go-to pickup for them. Artanis is an option, probably one you won't see. Ooh, they're going to go ahead and pick up the Illidan.
Illidan should also have an okay matchup against Malthael here, if he plays that right with his mobility, but at the same time now, that's not really quite what I expected. I really thought with Eternal they would rather go into the Sonya, but we have seen, of course, Illidan rise a lot in priority for a lot of teams, some of them just bringing it even to a first ban. So it's definitely interesting what we're currently having on the side of the Ducks, changing it up slightly. It's not completely unheard of for them, obviously, but
It's
with
new.
that style, I would have said, okay, that's most likely going to be a Sonya play. So we're going to see a little bit more Illidan action with the double support behind him.
Yeah, they seem to favor a little bit more tanky compositions that can kind of get in your face and do a sustained fight, and Sonya kind of alludes herself to that. Now, Illidan can be just as great as well, and with it being Eternal, obviously we're not doubting his mechanical skill. This is just a bit different for the Ducks. And when you're talking about Illidan and the hunt and such, it's kind of one that you need to have a battleground that's kind of open so you can move in for the hunt. Luckily, if you do open up the map earlier with web weavers and such, you can get the options to actually move in and fight.
Yeah, the wave clear overall I think is a little bit better for Team Liquid, what we're seeing here right now. The main wave clear hero on the side of the Ducks is still Vala, so the multi-shot hybrid build is probably what we're going to see here.
Yeah.
But we have quite a bit of wave clear on the opponent's side, and I really think that overall Team Liquid has a super solid draft, catering very well to the map, and also with a high potential of winning a team fight or isolating a hero for a snipe.
I like the
Stitches, of
variety
course.
too from them here. It's a little bit more aggressive / damage based compared to what we saw last week. So obviously they're still trying to find their spot in the meta and how they want to approach this new setups, especially with the changes as of this last week. So Team Liquid looking to come out and fire a little bit more here compared to what the Ducks will be running here, which is a little bit more sustained based, more on Vala with Illidan having that chase potential. For it being 2-month Spider Queen, I think I'm kind of agreeing with you on your initial analysis of how the map's going to flow. The wave clear, a bit too good here for Team Liquid. Going to late game too, they're just as scary.
Yeah, exactly. The late game spikes are pretty strong. Not only around Kael'thas, but of course Malthael in particular. Having that 16 just makes you so
KT
dangerous
or,
in these team fights. So, especially against the double support, he's going to go for his level 7 touch of death, and he's going to make sure that they are not getting that heal in. At least that's what I would expect here. So that can be a strong tool once that we have these 5 versus 5 fights on the map.
Yep, those 16 is scary for a majority of those heroes. Let's go ahead and go into it for game number 1. Tomb of the Spider Queen in this best of 5 series. Can the Ducks take on Liquid?
Game number 1 on Tomb of the Spider Queen. The Ducks go up against Team Liquid here today. In our first map, we see Nanda on the Nubarak. We have Wolf Joe on Uther, Sport Billy on Malfurion, Eternal on the Illidan as expected, and we see Chris on Vala.
On the right side, in the red, it's Team Liquid, and they are angry, losing their last 2 matches here. We have Hasuubs on Genji, Splendor on Karazim, Nurok on Kael'thas, Darkmok on Malthael, and Blumby playing Stitches.
So the one thing that I'm definitely curious about is the level 7 talent for Malthael, if he will head into the Touch of Death. Going up against 2 supports, it would definitely make a lot of sense for them to try and utilize this. On level 1 so far, we haven't seen anything chosen yet. Death's Reach is incredibly popular, and also this time actually heading away from it, trying to go into the escape tool instead. So we have basically 2 talents that are picked for Malthael on the first level. Death's Reach for the increased weight strike range is one of them. And Fear the Reaper if you're just trying to get away from your opponents. More than an escape tool than anything else. You gain a bit of movement speed and you can also pass through units. And this is what we're currently seeing for Darkmok here on the bot lane.
Hasob, Cyber Agility will jump over here and get in the fight right away. Interesting to see Hasob's playing the Genji here. We've seen that more on Nurok as of late, so Hasu continuing to flex for his team as Nurok will be on the Kel'Thas, looking for those hooks into the Gravilabs combo, which can be very powerful for most teams that can coordinate and make sure to land those before any type of mobility spells are available and online for the opposing team that does get hooked.
Yeah, hooks and gravity labs, this is one of the combos that we have seen a lot. Oftentimes you will instead see a Malfurion or an Uther with the Stitches just to get that lockdown. And it's just really important, since the only idea, or the main idea, behind the Stitches is to isolate a target. So if you have a supporter, anyone else that can lock the hook target down, you have the best chances of blowing it away. And this is what we're probably going to see on the side of Karazim, trying to just make sure that after that lockdown, the 7-sided strike comes in, unless Splendor feels forced to go into the palm.
For now, it's all about the movements between our top and our middle. Chris in particular will have to keep his eye out for Blumby, as Blumby's been sharkened for him. Ready to hit those hits with Nurok on the back right to help out. Driving Labs, of course, being helpful. Hits on the Bala. Speaking of it, hook comes out, but sadly does not connect, and the Playing Ducks will walk away after a scuffle.
Also, Sport Billy now on the Malfurion is interesting, and he also, in terms of talents, went a bit of a different way from... We've basically seen a little bit of flexible talent builds on Malfurion. We saw, for example, Bakery on the Hero 2 on level 1, heading straight into the Scouting Drone. But it's a little bit more popular to go into Moonburn and just go the full Moonfire build on level 4, and then on 7 head into the Lunar Shower. And it seems very likely that we're going to see that from Sport Billy now. It also gives you a bit more wave clear, which is something that the Ducks were lacking to a certain extent. So that makes up for it, and you can get a lot of value out of the utility. Talking about value, that hook, spot on by Blumby.
Blumby does come in, gets the hook, but Nurok unable to follow up with the Gravity Labs, which makes it a little bit worrisome for me. Typically, when you have a Stitches combo and you want to go for lockdown, you're looking for 2 to 3 types of CCs. Only one being here. I wonder if it'll be enough for Team Liquid to kill. So far, it hasn't been, but they keep fighting back and forth here, and they are winning out on the poke exchange.
The problem that they have with the hooks is that the follow-up just isn't there yet.
Yeah.
So far, we don't see the Gravity Labs as a follow-up. It should be coming into play later on, and then they need some burst damage. And talking damage, Darkmok is going really low in HP, but able to heal himself up once again. So that's, well, it was a close call here for him. It was a nice gank that we just saw from the Ducks.
Yeah, he made sure that he got the mark on top of the Beetles as well that were coming in from a Nubrak, so he had 4 targets he could actually steal health from, and he was able to barely just survive. But yeah, I agree with you here, especially with Illidan in the late game when we get to around level 10. If that coordination isn't here between Stitches and, of course, Nurok on that Gravity Lapse and they can't kill people off, I can see them having a really hard time. Yeah, right now, Sport Billy coming in.
The Soul Rip barely kept him alive, and Sport Billy coming in, you are right about that. In a little bit too deep because of the hook that we saw from Blumby, and this time the killer secured. That was really well done and cost them a few gems as well. Nanda now also on the run, gets body blocked actually, but the hook is just a bit too late. He already tunnels out here. So overall, Liquid off to a good start, getting the first kill here, also ahead when it comes to the turn-in, but Darkmok is finally falling, and that's 15 gems that they are not losing because Hazorbs is ready.
Yep, turn-in is available for both of our teams, and Team Liquid will get a few dropped off in the bottom as they move towards level 7. Playing Ducks were hoping to turn in on the top, but Team Liquid delays them just enough here with the poke from Splendor and Nurok. So going into 7 here, who has the stronger advantage for being able to bully out and get the turn-in? I think so far it's actually Team Liquid with the poke from Genji as well as KT. There are moments where they can go in for hooks and grab someone and lock them down.
Yeah, the mobility that they have is definitely great. And there's the hook you've been talking about. And this time the follow-up is there. Eternal gets healed and the double support helps. But you can really tell how Nurok is already with the living bombs really annoying them heavily. So even with the double support, it's a bit weird for the Ducks since they need the burst heal from Uther, especially after a hook. And then later on, they need to somehow deal with KT's damage output too. And Malthael, as expected, went into the Touch of Death on level 7. And this is a talent that after 10, when the Tormented Souls comes in as a heroic ability for Malthael, is going to be a massive problem in teamfights for the Playing Ducks.
Yep, denying those heals will get much harder for them to be effective. Team Liquid does get the turn-in of the game here, so we're going to go ahead and have pressure in the bottom, middle, and top. KT is left uncontested at the moment, but you're correct about those living bombs. 3 of them picked in that last fight, and if 3 hits in a fight, for the most part, Team Liquid's in a spot where they can get ready for wins. Because if Genji gets into a spot where people can be reset on, he's going to start going forward and taking members out.
Yeah, this combo is actually really successful here. And just in case you're not really aware with the talents of Malthael here yet, so the level 7 that we've been talking about quite a bit now, basically makes sure that once you activate it, the target gets 50% less heal. So this is going to be a massive thing against the double support. It's basically one of the counters that we have here. And if you now consider that we are seeing a Kel'Thas on the other hand, 50% less heal power is a lot. There's a nice lockdown here on Malfurion. Once again, we see Sport Billy fall. It was a nice counter kill. Great play by Liquid. And a massive amount of pressure that they now have with that first weapon wave, even getting the first fort up at the top.
That's the strength of the combo there. The stitches into the gravity laps, landing on Malfurion, Vala, or Illidan. They should be able to delete them, especially with Genji coming in for the swipe and bringing out the final damage. Team Liquid will look to continue doing that throughout the match. It's on the playing Ducks to make sure that they can prevent that from occurring. A couple ways to do that. One, when Divine Shield comes online at level 10, you can drop the Divine Shield, keep your teammate alive. But two, positioning. Make sure you don't get hit by those hooks.
Also, with the way this game is flowing, Malfurion is getting less and less value for his team, because if you go for that full Moonfire build, what you're looking for is, first of all, more wave clear. This is something that's still useful for them. But also with the reduction of the cooldown on level 7 and you just trying to fire away and get the damage in, one of the main tools that you have on this map is interrupts against the turn. But because they cannot really fight on even level the entire time, Malfurion is in this awkward spot where he can basically only wave clear. He already is about to complete his level 1 quest, so that's going to help them a lot with it. But he can't really bring that utility that they were looking for, especially since Stitches is always threatening the hook against him. So Malfurion has to play much farther back than he would like to with his build.
And have to be careful too, with the X-Strike being picked up by Genji, they're going all in on this idea of hitting hooks, landing the stun, and X-Strike coming out for the extra damage. Also, good for dodging Twilight Dreams, so I can see why Hasselhoff picks up that talent.
Yeah, they went into a bit of different direction. I was mentioning the 7-sided earlier, but they went away from the 7-sided into the palm, and now the X-Strike for Genji, as you just said. So they still lock the burst down with Genji, not with Karazim, but the fight is starting just now, and as Malthael jumps in, keep now the level 7 in mind. He can really work on these heals. Great hook against the Eternal. Here comes the Torment and Souls, and an immediate cocoon against him.
The Divine Storm coming out as well. Members low, but the Living Bomb is getting spread. People are taking damage here. And Hasselhoffs have a chance to go in. It's going to be a no here. It's too fearful of the double support. But this does open up a window for Team Liquid to take this Web Weaver push and break through the middle, open the fort, and look towards the bottom.
Yeah, with the Ducks using the cocoon against Malthael, that was a great move. The problem for them is, if they wait with Nanda's cocoon for Malthael to activate his ult and jumping in, then of course, oh, nice hook against Nanda, should be able to get out of here. But if they wait for that, that's great to shut Malthael down in these fights and make sure that he doesn't get that momentum and the value. But you also basically just keep your cocoon and you can't really engage into your opponent or cocoon the Karazim when you try to go for a blow-up and make sure that he doesn't get the palm in. So I think there's a lot of scenarios where the Ducks just can't really unfold what they want here because they have to hold back certain abilities or can't use the positioning they would like to have, since Team Liquid is threatening them with everything they have in that draft.
Hook comes down, no Grey Labs quite yet here. Playing Ducks, I do think if they can get through a spot where after Phoenix is used, they can go for the fight. Because the last time they wanted to actually go in for an engage and land a Divine Storm with the Cocoon, Phoenix zoned them all out from the area. So if they can get through that ult, they'll be a good spot. But your point being brought up of where it's really difficult for them to play around the heroics up for Team Liquid is a very serious threat for them.
Yeah, especially Malthael. I think Malthael is currently threatening them a lot.
Yep.
There's so many things. First of all, we have Malthael plus Kel'Thas. And the area damage output that you have with the two of them is absolutely crazy. You have the Living Bombs, there's the Phoenix, the Flame Strike to consider, and Malthael as he jumps in, drops the Tormented Soul. So you are in that spot where you need the Cocoon to shut Malthael down, or they will just wipe you with those two heroes alone. And that puts you into a much more passive spot than you want to be in. Normally when you're drafting in a Nuburak, the idea is you engage into your opponent, especially with an Illidan. You're trying to jump in, you cocoon target, and you drive the fight. And that's something that they would like to do, but so far they couldn't get it done.
Well, let's go ahead and hop back into the game here and see if they can get it done at all. Other options that are included here is you could use a Cocoon on the Genji and then try to turn around and focus on Malthael and burn him down, but with that Tormented Souls being up, it's such a difficult task.
And also the palm. That's another big point here. So this is really awkward for the Ducks, and we need to find out if they can make those plays happen. Because now with 10, they have also good tools. It's not only the Cocoon. If they get the Divine Storm in, for example, as Malthael engages, and they get also the Twilight Dream, that's definitely tools that they can use. Liquid needs to work around those a bit by spreading out and making sure that not everyone is hit by these AoE ults.
Well, for now, The Ducks are just hoping to hold on. They do have 116 gems available, so they will be able to use those for turns and comebacks. Now, will the Ducks play in the water, or will the water rise up against them? Picture really clever pun there. Nice job, man.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Argy. Thumbs up.
The pun master is out. The level 13 talent is also out, by the way. Just picked up by Team Liquid now. And in this case already, we are seeing a lot of stuns being countered by the talents picked up by Stitches and also, of course, by Karazim. So we're seeing the Sixth Sense and we're having the Fleabag taken. And especially Fleabag is a pretty great ult where every single time you're stunned or rooted, you have the ability cooldowns reduced, the basic abilities that is. So then you get your Devour up a little bit faster and you can use that. That gives you more sustainability. And it's really annoying. And considering how many stuns we have on the side of the Ducks, it's actually pretty fantastic. I mean, every single hero that they have in their lineup has a stun available at this point.
That's what I was going to bring up here. That level 13 talent is instrumental here for Team Liquid in a composition where they're already running really well. Now they have defensive capabilities against the Rain of Vengeance, the Hunt that comes in, the Root from the Malfurion, the Divine Storm, even the basic stun from them. And then, of course, New Record Pale and Burrow Charge. You're right, that talent for Karazim and Stitches are going to get so much value.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane. Fleabag is such a great talent here. It's absolutely fantastic for Bloomby to have that available to him. So he